Most people ride the subway without incident. Commuters, students, night shift workers heading home. But every system has its stories, the ones people don't report, the ones that don't make sense even after they're over. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 of them. Real accounts, real people, real fear. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy true horror stories like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. This happened in March of 2019, Brooklyn. A woman we'll call Rachel worked late shifts at a hospital in Manhattan. Her commute home required 2 trains and usually ended around midnight. She'd done it hundreds of times. She knew which cars were safest, which exits to use, where the MTA staff usually positioned themselves on the platform. Rachel wasn't careless, but on March 14th, she noticed something. It started on the L train. She got on at Union Square, stood near the middle doors. The car was about half full, normal for that hour. At the next stop, a man got on, mid-30s, dark jacket, baseball cap pulled low. He didn't look at her directly, but Rachel felt it, that awareness, the way you can sense when someone's attention is fixed on you even when they're pretending it isn't. She shifted her position, moved toward the other end of the car. He stayed where he was. At Bedford Avenue, she got off to transfer. So did he. The platform was nearly empty, just her, the man, and an older woman waiting near the stairs. Rachel told herself it meant nothing. Bedford was a major stop. Lots of people transferred there. She watched toward the far end of the platform. He followed. Not close, maybe 30 feet back, but he was following. She could hear his footsteps echoing in the tunnel, the same rhythm as hers, starting when she started, stopping when she stopped. The next train arrived. Rachel got on. Second car from the front. The man got on too. Same car. Now there were only 4 other people in the car with them. 2 passengers were asleep. 1 was listening to headphones. The 4th was reading. No one was paying attention. Rachel pulled out her phone, pretended to text, but she was watching his reflection in the window across from her. He was looking down at his hands, but every few seconds, his eyes would lift toward her, then back down. She thought about getting off at the next stop, but what if he followed her onto an even emptier platform? What if he followed her home? She decided to test it. At Lorimer Street, right before the doors closed, Rachel jumped off the train. She watched through the window as the train pulled away. The man was still inside. He was staring at her now. No pretense anymore. Just staring. As the train disappeared into the tunnel, Rachel felt a rush of relief. She'd been paranoid, that was all. She'd wait for the next train, get home, forget about it. The platform was empty now. Just her and the sound of water dripping somewhere in the tunnel. She walked toward the center of the platform, where there was better lighting. That's when she heard the footsteps. Behind her. Coming from the tunnel. Not from the stairs. From the tunnel itself. Rachel turned. The man was walking along the tracks, in the darkness between stations. He'd gotten off the train, climbed down onto the tracks, and walked back. To her. But that wasn't the part that stayed with her. What stayed with her was how calm he looked, like he'd done this before, like he knew exactly how much time he had before the next train came. Rachel ran, up the stairs, through the turnstile, out onto the street. She didn't look back until she was in a bodega with other people around her. She called the police from there. They took a report, checked the cameras. The footage confirmed her story. A man had indeed gotten off the train and walked back along the tracks. But here's what they told her. This wasn't the first report they'd received. Over the previous 8 months, 4 other women had reported similar incidents on the same line. Different times, different days, but the same pattern. A man would board their train, appear to follow them, then when they evaded him, he would use the tunnels to pursue them between stations. The MTA reviewed hundreds of hours of footage. They never got a clear image of his face. The camera angles in the tunnels were limited, the lighting poor. But they found something else. In several shots, spread across different dates, they spotted him on the tracks, just standing there, in the dark, between stations, waiting. Rachel stopped taking the L train after that. She changed her route, started taking cabs when she worked late. She never saw him again, but sometimes when she's on a different train and it slows down in a tunnel, she looks out the window into the darkness, and she wonders if he's still down there, still waiting, still following. The NYPD never made an arrest. The reports eventually stopped. But that doesn't mean he stopped. This one takes place in Chicago. The Red Line, October 2021. A man we'll call David was visiting the city for a conference. He'd taken the train a few times during his stay, felt comfortable with the system. On his last night, he stayed out later than planned, drinks with colleagues, lost track of time. By the time he headed back to his hotel, it was almost 2 a.m. He got on at Chicago Avenue. The train was mostly empty, a few scattered passengers. No one near him. David was tired. He sat down and closed his eyes, just for a minute. When he opened them again, the train had stopped. He looked up at the station sign. Wilson. He'd missed his stop. Not by much, just 2 stations, but now he'd have to get off, cross to the other platform, and head back south. Annoying, but not a crisis. The doors opened. David stepped out onto the platform and immediately felt that something was wrong. The station was empty. Completely empty. No passengers waiting, no staff in the booth. The overhead lights were on, but half of them were flickering. The other half were dimmer than they should be. It was quiet. Too quiet. David walked toward the center of the platform, looking for the signs to the southbound side. His footsteps echoed. Behind him, the train doors closed. The train pulled away. And then he was alone. He pulled out his phone to check the train schedule. No signal. Not unusual underground, but frustrating. He'd just wait for the next train. Wouldn't be long. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. No train. David walked the length of the platform. There was a tunnel at the far end leading to the other side. He hesitated. The tunnel was long, dark. He could see maybe 20 feet before the lights gave out, but the signs indicated this was the way to the southbound platform. He started walking. The tunnel smelled like mildew and rust. Somewhere ahead, he could hear water dripping. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed and flickered. About halfway through, one of the lights went out completely. David kept walking. That's when he heard the voice, ahead of him, in the dark part of the tunnel. Someone was talking. No, not talking. Whispering. David stopped walking. The whispering continued. He couldn't make out words, just the rhythm of it, fast and urgent, like someone was trying to explain something. But that wasn't what made him turn around. What made him turn around was realizing the whispering was getting closer, but he couldn't see anyone. The tunnel ahead was empty. David backed up slowly. The whispering grew louder. Still no words he could understand, just that frantic, urgent rhythm. He turned and walked quickly back toward the platform he'd come from. The whispering followed him. By the time he reached the platform, he was running. He burst out of the tunnel and stopped, breathing hard. Looking back, the tunnel was silent now. David stood there for a long moment. Then he heard the train. Relief washed over him. He didn't care which direction it was going. He just wanted out of this station. The train emerged from the tunnel. Red Line, northbound. It would take him further from his hotel, but he didn't care. The doors opened. David got on. The car was empty, except for one person, an older man sitting near the back. He was staring at David, not with curiosity, with recognition. David sat down near the front. The doors closed. The train started moving. At the next stop, the older man got up. As he passed David, he stopped, leaned down, and whispered, "You weren't supposed to get off there." Then he stepped off the train. The doors closed before David could respond. He watched through the window as the man walked away down the platform, not toward the exits, toward the tunnel David had just come from. David rode the train all the way to the end of the line. Then he took a cab back to his hotel. The next morning, he looked up Wilson Station online. The reviews were normal, nothing unusual, but when he searched deeper, he found an old Chicago Tribune article from 1997. A man had disappeared from Wilson Station, just vanished. Security footage showed him getting off a train late at night, walking toward the tunnel, and never coming out the other side. They searched the tunnels, never found him. The case went cold. David checked out of his hotel that afternoon. He hasn't been back to Chicago since. London. The Piccadilly Line. January 2023. A woman we'll call Emma worked as a cleaner for a company that serviced office buildings in central London. Her shift ended at midnight. She always caught the last train home from King's Cross. She'd been doing it for 3 years. Same train, same routine. Nothing had ever happened. Until January 19th. Emma got to the platform at 12:40 a.m. The last train was due at 12:47. There were maybe a dozen other people waiting, spread out along the platform, everyone keeping to themselves. Standard late-night crowd. Emma stood near the middle of the platform, earbuds in, listening to a podcast. The train arrived exactly on time. She got on, third car. There were 4 other people in her car. A young couple sitting together near the far end, a man in a business suit, head tilted back, asleep, and a woman sitting alone by the doors. Older, maybe 60, wearing a long coat. Her eyes were closed. The train pulled away from the station. Emma settled into her seat. 7 stops to home. About 25 minutes. At the next stop, Caledonian Road, the couple got off. No one got on. Now it was just Emma, the sleeping businessman, and the older woman. The train continued. At Holloway Road, the businessman got off. Now it was just Emma and the woman. Emma glanced over. The woman's eyes were open now. She was looking at Emma. Not staring, just looking. Emma looked away. At Arsenal, the train stopped. The doors opened. Emma expected the woman to get off. She didn't. The doors closed. The train didn't move. This wasn't unusual. Trains often paused between stations, signal delays, traffic. But after a minute, Emma noticed something. The lights in the tunnel outside had gone off. It was completely dark beyond the windows, and the train was silent. No engine hum, no air conditioning, just silence. Emma pulled out her phone. No signal. She looked over at the woman. The woman was standing now. She walked slowly toward Emma, stopped a few feet away, and said, "You need to get off at the next stop." Emma's heart started racing. "I'm sorry?" "The next stop. You need to get off." "Why?" The woman didn't answer. But that wasn't the strange part. The strange part was her expression. She wasn't threatening. She looked afraid. "Please," the woman said. "When the train stops next, get off. Don't ask questions. Just get off." The lights in the train flickered. Once. Twice. Then came back on. The train lurched forward, started moving again. Emma stared at the woman. "What are you talking about?" The woman sat back down, closed her eyes, and didn't say another word. The next stop was Finsbury Park. Emma's stop was 3 stations after that, but as the train slowed down approaching Finsbury Park, Emma stood up. She didn't know why. The woman's fear was real. The doors opened. Emma stepped onto the platform. She looked back into the car. The woman was still sitting there, eyes closed. As the train pulled away, Emma watched it disappear into the tunnel. She was the only person on the platform. The station was eerily quiet. She checked the display board. No more trains tonight. She'd have to find another way home. Emma walked toward the exit. As she reached the stairs, she heard sirens outside. Multiple sirens, getting louder. When she reached street level, she saw them. Police cars, ambulances, fire trucks, all heading toward the tracks further down the line. Emma approached one of the police officers standing near the cordon. What happened? The officer looked grim. Train derailment, about a mile from here, between Finsbury Park and Manor House. Emma's blood went cold. The Piccadilly line? The last train of the night. We don't know how many casualties yet. Emma stood there in the cold, trying to process what she'd just heard. She gave her statement to the police, told them about the woman, about the warning. They checked the passenger list. According to their records, only 4 people had been on that train when it left King's Cross. The couple who got off at Caledonian Road, the businessman who got off at Holloway Road, Emma, and the driver. No older woman in a coat, no other passengers. Emma insisted. She described her age, what she was wearing, what she'd said. They checked the CCTV footage from the platform at King's Cross. It showed Emma getting on the train, in the car she described, sitting exactly where she said she sat. But in every frame, every angle, Emma was alone in that car. She'd been alone the entire time. 12 people died in the derailment, including the driver. The investigation determined it was a mechanical failure, a brake system malfunction that should have been caught during routine maintenance. Emma went back to work 2 weeks later. She takes a different route home now. Different line, different trains. She's never taken the Piccadilly line again. But sometimes, late at night when she's waiting on a platform, she thinks about the woman who wasn't there, the woman who saved her life. And she wonders who she really was. 3 stories, 3 different cities, 3 different outcomes. But they all share something. They happened underground, in the places we pass through every day without thinking. The subway is designed to be efficient, safe, mundane. Thousands of people, millions of journeys, most of them unremarkable. But beneath the routine, beneath the schedules and the crowds and the fluorescent lights, there are moments that don't fit, encounters that can't be explained, presences that shouldn't be there. The subway moves us from point A to point B, but what happens in between? What exists in those tunnels? What waits on those empty platforms? Some stories never surface. They stay down there, in the dark, where the trains run all night, and some passengers never get off. If you have your own subway horror story, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe, and maybe take the stairs.